Welcome to the Among Lionhearts podcast, where we dare to have moxie for what matters. I'm Michelle, a nonprofit social media expert, and it's my job to teach you how to get people excited about giving their hard-earned money for a good cause. At Among Lionhearts, we are your new loudmouth, change-making, do-gooder best friends, here to embolden you to take more action, risk, and heart toward creating a more just, equitable, and brave world. In today's episode, we're chatting with David Blyer, co-founder and CEO at Arreva. If you aren't familiar with Arreva, Arreva has been the trusted advisor and industry-leading software provider to the nonprofit world. They created ExceedFurther, an all-in-one cloud-based fundraising and donor relationship management solution. David and I will be discussing how Arreva got its start, the unique challenges that nonprofits face in juggling fundraising, donors, and volunteers, and reasons why an all-in-one solution is worth the investment. So if you're looking to supercharge your team's time and effort through automation, stick around because this is the episode for you. Welcome to the podcast, David. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Michelle, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's very exciting to be part of this podcast, and you do a wonderful job. And it's nice that you're out there helping the nonprofit industry as we are all trying to do the same thing. So congrats on doing that.
Thank you so much. I'm just so excited that you're here to share your expertise with us. Can you start off by telling a bit about your background and why you started Arreva?
Yeah, I mean, it's really sort of interesting in my own way, but I always wanted to give back to the industry as a whole, and I never really, and I wanted to do this back knowing probably when I was about 25 years old, but I'm not going to age myself on that. And I know when I was 25 years old, I actually had cancer. And at the time I knew there was going to be a way in some time in my life that how could I give back? And, I've been fortunate in my career and had some great experiences, and both in the corporate world as well as in the entrepreneurial world. And it came to a time in my life where I had an opportunity, and I was sitting around with some amazing people in the nonprofit space. And when you say nonprofit, people are always like, well, what do you mean nonprofit? But it was the vice chair of University of Miami's IT business school, and it was the dean of Nova Southeastern University, and it was the executive director of the Human Genomics and University of Miami. And it was a fundraising consultant and a very well-known philanthropic CPA firm. And we were all just sitting around, and we all knew each other. And they said, David, technology. And you've been fortunate to be in the tech space your entire life, been active in the nonprofit world in your own way, whether it's through donations, volunteering, active with us. And but they said, there's a real problem in the industry. And I'm always about solutions, right? I mean, every company we ever started was always about, we were finding a solution to a problem. So I said, tell me a little bit more about what your problem is. And I'd love to understand that. And it was kind of simple. I said, we run auctions, and, we just had an auction, and now we have all these items and we don't know what to do with it. And then we have all these people that bidded on it, and I've got it in one database. Now I got to go put it someplace else. And then, somebody else was saying, we get a lot of donations, and it's great, but then it kicks us off our website, and then we got to take that data and move it. And, there were a lot of inefficiencies, and all the software that they were talking about, really all great. All of the software and everything that they were talking about was all great. But really what it was missing is they didn't, in a sense, what I call, in simplicity is talking to each other. So there's a lot of movement, right? You had great donation software. You've got great event software. You've got great donor relationship management software. You have great peer-to-peer fundraising. There's a lot of that out there, but nothing talked to one another. And, and then not only did it not talk to one another, but, especially in today's world, when you go to somebody's website and you go and you give a donation, or you get an email from a friend and you give a donation, or you register for an event, you're typically pushed off of their website. You fill out, that donation, you click on it. And in today's world, we are so busy that once I'm off, I'm off. I'm not learning about why I did that, or maybe I did it and that's it. So when we saw this, it was really, I will call a problem. And we solved the problem, and we solved that, and thanks, Michelle, for giving the name of the product out there, but we solved that. And there's a lot of history behind it, but we solved that by building a platform of all of these type of applications, whether it be a donation page, and it really is not just a donation page. I mean, you can do unlimited pages, and I could show you so many wonderful examples, whether, you're giving a tribute, or you're giving a donation, or you're giving, an appeal to a COVID situation. They can all have it on one page if they wanted to, and how they do reoccurring, and how they do tributes, and how they do matching gift capabilities. And then if they wanted to register for an event, or they wanted to register as a volunteer, or somebody on their board or large donor wanted to help create awareness and raise money through peer-to-peer fundraising. Right. All of these things had so much value. So we built that entire platform that not only had, on the transaction side that you could register for this, but we also built on the back end side to track the households and the organizations and the gifts and the pledges, and have automatic communications, and have a membership management and campaigns and grant management, and a suite for the healthcare hospitality industry, like a Ronald McDonald's, whether people, and I hope not many people would know about them in that sense, that they have a child in a hospital and they need a place to stay. But what a wonderful organization, right? So we built this entire platform. So whether you went and gave a donation, whether you registered for an event, whether you registered as a member, whether you gave from a friend for peer-to-peer fundraising, all of your information instantaneously would go into the donor relationship management application, automatically would send that donor or whoever registered for an automatic thank you acknowledgement receipt, and automatically would send the staff a notification instantaneously, both on their phone or at their computer, and you could build best practices. I mean, I don't know how many people out there, and I've done it a lot, right? And how many times have you given a donation and never got a thank you or a phone call? I mean,
absolutely,
because they're so inundated and they have a small staff typically. But because of the way we created our software, it allows you to instantly just pick up the phone and say thank you, and those create goodwill, because I know when somebody calls me and thank you, I remember that, because it's far and few between. And then we also took auction software that we found was really important, and people were saying we need auction software. So we have, whether it's for silent auctions, whether it's live auctions, and we've integrated that into our ExceedFurther as well. And we built team fundraising. So when you think about an all-in-one, you're only having to deal not only just with one company, because there's a lot of companies that have a lot of these platforms, but they're not all integrated. And that's really what we delivered as the solution to what the problem is. And it still exists out there today. But I'm not knocking the software out there. I'm just trying to create real efficiencies that help consolidate multiple applications or multiple databases into one. We've seen site engagement, and that was another wonderful thing. When you go to any one of our clients and you give a donation, or you register for an event, or you register as a guest at a Ronald McDonald House, or and after you fill that out, you're still on the website. And when you're still on the website, you may stop looking around. And either you can set this up as they could redirect it, keep you on that page, or redirect you to another page. So site engagement goes up, because if I just register for an event because I got it, and I'm still on their website, I may be looking around like, what is this cause about? Or what are they doing? Or maybe they're doing an event. So we've seen site engagement goes up. And, I used to use the analogy, you never leave the site until you want to leave the site. And that's really what's important. And then we've given so many different ways of, donor acquisition, because there's so many new ways that if you're reaching a client, or a donor, that a donor has the ability to reach their friends in different ways and create the awareness. So, trying to get more donors, and increase your donor database. There's so many different ways of acquiring it. And just as important and equally as important is donor retention. How do I retain those donors? And that's something that was really big as well. So, equally, it's always about, I got to retain my existing donors, and also how do I reach new donors? And that's always been, when you say unique challenges, that's always a challenge to the nonprofit industry. Yeah. And then when you look at certain, whether you're in Denver, in your community, just think about how many great, and I mean it, how many great different nonprofits are in that same 5-mile geography, right? Or here in Broward County, there's like 8,000 nonprofits, and they're all great in their own way. But how do they create more awareness? How do they get more donors? How do they raise more money? Because a lot of these organizations, if they're not getting grants, they've got to fundraise. And this is the way they continue with their programs and continue with their services that they're providing for those programs. And it's not easy, but they're always being challenged on this. And depending upon whether they can get that grant, or the grants go. And I've seen organizations or the government at some certain points unfortunately have to cut what they were expecting on their grant. So now what do they have to do, as any business does? Do they have to cut their staff, because that really hurts? Or do they go out and try and raise funds? And you need platforms that are going to help them raise the funds. And this is really just part of what we do in helping them succeed. So.
Yeah. I love the platform. I did have the pleasure of sitting with Anne, and she walked me through and kind of gave me an overview of the platform and what it does, and just all the thought that has gone into all of the components. Really, really struck me. And even in our conversation before the interview, when we talked, and you were sharing how passionate you are about helping nonprofits, and I think it's really important. I think nonprofits, when they're starting out, might have to do this mishmash of a few different software programs, something great, but I think every time you look at scaling, right? Every time you're going to go to that next level, you're going to bring on an employee, you're going to create a team. It's time to reevaluate. Like, are we losing time? Is this going to be more effective for our team if we can have a platform that eliminates a lot of this busy work, right? Because everybody in the nonprofit world knows all about putting out fires. And I know can you talk to us a little bit about your background? Because I know one of the things that we share is our passion for automation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've been working in the nonprofit industry, indirectly, since I was way back and volunteering for, great causes, whether it would be like, and why I picked these, it was random. I mean, I have certain things that I love, and, education is one of the big things that we were very passionate about and active in, for fundraising. And then when you look at some of the local organizations that, like the Police Athletic League and how they've literally helped save lives and have after school programs for kids that need a place. And, I got locally, I love doing things locally with, the nonprofits down here. And I remember going to the facility at one time, and I could not believe what this executive director did at the Police Athletic League here in South Florida, at Davie, Florida. And he took this over, and I'm like, at the time, it wasn't a good place. And this executive director turned this over and went from, like, it's a great case study too, how he brought in, I think started with 45 kids. I think they're up to 500 now. It's a wonderful place where, it provides, a good after school, and they have studying, and they have boxing, and they have gyms, and, they have basketball, and they have baseball. And it's wonderful for kids that need an after school place. And, and then, I love what the Ronald McDonald House in South Florida has done, and all of them, but, I get to actually go witness it. And, sometimes our staff, pre-COVID, of course, unfortunately, but damn COVID, right? I mean,
yeah.
we would take whoever wanted to come, and we would go down to the Ronald McDonald House of South Florida and go to Costco, and buy the food and cook for the staff and whoever was in the house. And it just makes you feel good. I mean, it's just the little things that, we can do as an organization. We're very passionate about helping the nonprofit industry. And, it's not just about selling software. And, part of what we do as a company is also, for us, of course, I have to sell software, right? I mean, we're in a business, but it really is wanting to be known as a thought leader. And we really put in a lot of effort, and when I say thought leadership, it's really putting together ebooks and guides, and we call them blogs, right? But tips on how do you run a better peer-to-peer fundraising? I mean, just because you have a car doesn't mean you're going to get from point A to point B. How do I really get there efficiently? I mean, there's certainly ways to get there, right? But how do I get there efficiently? And how do I become successful? And that's something, which is the foundation of our company. And I love that. I love that about everybody in our company. And, I actually can say that almost in every meeting. We're so client driven, and when you put the forefront, when we say it, and it's not a cliche, about how you treat your employees is very important. And then how they treat our clients is just as important. It's just amazing. I mean, I've seen emails go out where a client, maybe they were a volunteer and they were working during the day and they were helping a nonprofit, and they, at 11:30 at night, they wrote, something, hey, I need help setting something up. I've literally seen our staff responding after hours like that. And then I'm like, wow, that was really nice of you. No, David, this is why we're doing this. We love what we do. They love helping, when a client calls up and they need something. I mean, this is what it's all about. And when you look at our retention rate, and I mean, we have customers that have been with us for 20 plus years. I mean, that says a lot, and then we have employees that have been here with us, one way or the other, for 5 years and 10 years and 20 years and over 25 years. And, you think, why? I mean, and it's not one answer, it's not one answer. It's a combination of many things. It's they believe in the industry. I mean, of course, they could go to another company in the same industry, but they believe in the team, and it's not one. It's not me, it's not Susan. It's a combination of all of us. It's how we work together. It's how we believe in helping. The organizations out there. It's always looking at taking our product to the next step. And listening to what the clients want, and always trying to provide that, what I call that all-in-one, to just continually make it efficient. I mean, we just came out with a product that we've been talking about for many years, and that was team fundraising. And clients were like, hey, we have team fundraising. We use this company over here, but we don't want to use two companies. So, we listen to those things. And so there's so many reasons why. And when you're not stagnant, when you're moving forward, when you're trying to help them. And, one of our slides, which I really love at the end, is we say we're with you for good, and we mean it. And it's not about we really are with you for good. It's all the things that we put in place to help them, whether it's, providing a resource center, and honestly, even if you're not a client, go look at download the stuff.
The webinars and
it's out there. I don't care whether you're my client or not. I just want you to be successful. I know every day how challenging it is. And I don't mean to forget COVID, but whether it's COVID, whether it's not COVID, this is some new challenge for all of us every day, right? I mean, no matter what it is, there's always something. There's always a little bump in the road, right? But how can we always help? How can we always be there for them? And those are really important things, and it resonates through the company. And it reflects on, our retention rate, which is, way above over 90%. We track that every week and what we need to do. And there's so many ways that we track this, but, we really do care.
Definitely. Your organization is so great every time I've had a chance. And I happened to be in the mix because I was checking out your webinars. And so then I was on your email list, and then Nicole reached out to me, and I connected with her, and she connected me with your sales team, and then I've talked to your marketing director and I just, every step of the way, every level of the company, have been able to speak with somebody who's warm and helpful and not interested in selling the software first. And, I think nonprofit professionals know, if they could be out there doing the good work that they do every day without ever having to worry about fundraising, they would do that too. So yes, you've got to sell software. They've got to fundraise. It's all part of the game. But I really do respect and appreciate the amount of emphasis you and your team put on just listening to people, hearing their stories. I know that some of the most successful arrangements that I've had in helping integrate software in any of the different industries, but definitely also in nonprofit world, is having, a customer success team and a development team who will listen to, hey, we love your software and I'm having this challenge with it. And is this something that you guys are looking on integrating? Is this something that's going to become a part of the software? Can you talk to us about some of the iterations of how Arreva evolved this software and some of the these challenges that nonprofits you were helping were facing, and how that led to a whole other solution within the program?
Yeah, I first of all, I love the question, and there, it's so vast. Actually, that answer, is, one thing that we do every year is we put together what we call a roadmap on the technology side. And we collect all sorts of software, right? So our clients can log in and into our software, and they can go to Arreva at support, and they can say, hey, do you do this? Or, hey, we want this, or whether it's a report, or whether it's a certain little enhancement, or they want to change on the donation page, or they want something else. And in many cases, which is, we empower everybody in the company, and our leaders in the technology side, and we just have great leaders over there, and they pull this and they say, oh, I can put this in right now, or I can, without even talking about it, right? And then they do a release, and they put a release notes in, and it's done. I mean, and they look at it though as, is this for 60 or 70%? Are we seeing a lot of this? Well, let's just go put it in. And then we really look at, what our clients are always saying. We're driven by our clients. It's not driven by what we think should be in the product. It's always driven by our clients. And I wouldn't even just say it's every year. Every year we embark, and we literally ask everybody in the company, whether you're sales, whether you're marketing, whether you're support, whether you're client success, whether you're development. And I will tell you, I don't think there's one person in this company that isn't touching our clients one way or the other, or speaking to them, which is always really important. And as a collaborative team, we decide collectively, we asked everybody, submit the things that you think should be in our product, and why, right? Where did that come from, and who? And then we take the list that we track from our clients, and then we decide, okay, what are the most important ones? What's the majority? I mean, there's always one off, right? I mean, no matter what, there's always one off. And sometimes we actually do the one off if we have the ability, and sometimes we won't. But we really try and identify what the mass wants, and then we put that in our roadmap, and it's not part of a charge, right? It's just part of what we want to do. And then every quarter, we look at what did we accomplish, right? We recognize people internally for those accomplishments, not only quarterly, monthly. I mean, we have a monthly staff meeting, and, it was really fascinating because, part of it was we were hearing that people wanted a text, right? They wanted to send out a text as an example. And our development team went off, and we're like, okay, it's done. I mean, it's done. This is fantastic, right? And then our marketing team works with the development team actually to make sure that we get the right things. And then they go out and they let our clients know, and they let our prospects know. And it was really fascinating, and then, somebody else will literally write a document on this. It's just a wonderful thing. The other thing, we just released team fundraising. I know I mentioned that, but that was really been driven by our clients. And then and part of that is, they used to say, we used a new word called influencer. And somebody in the company said, why are we using that? It's a beta. I said, well, I'll use any word you want, but my CTO said it's an influencer. We're not influencing the product. The client is influencing it. So we gave it to a client. They go use it, and then they literally, it was amazing because they took it. This was really exciting for us too, and exciting for, the development team, because they actually not only develop it, they literally work with the client. The client goes live with a product, and this happened to be a school, and they needed to raise money. And she says, the reality of this is, if we raise 50% of what my goal is, it's a success to me. They actually exceeded the goal and could not believe it. And they did this in 5 days. I mean, It was really interesting. They had I don't even know how many captains. And I mean, they did an amazing job, and those are really, exciting things of how we're working with clients. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't, even on little things. I mean, the other nice thing is, we have a great client, and they wanted, I remember, a feature, and our development person said, let me get on the phone and I want to understand exactly. I mean, as opposed to somebody else communicating with them. And we actually came out with an auto pledge. It may not sound that important, but in the faith-based organizations, auto pledging and reoccurring was really important. And not many companies do it. And he went off and did it. And you know what? It was a one-off for a specific client, but it was really for a great sector. And now this customer could not believe, and was already happy. Now they love us, right? But we strive for that, right? We strive for that stuff. So
absolutely. And I'm sure there's plenty of other clients that you're working with that didn't even think about how much they needed that. And once it's there and available,
even during COVID, it was interesting during COVID. I know, like the Ronald McDonald House wanted a paperless type of environment, and our development team went with 3 of the Ronald McDonald Houses, understood what they wanted in the paperless side of it, for their guest and family room registrations. And we do online guest registrations. And even though, these places were closed, they still needed certain things to get done. And our development team went off and developed onto our hospitality suite and added this to the process, during COVID. So we address it, whether it's, a specific thing during the day, whether it's, COVID, which has been not fun to anybody.
For everyone, exactly.
But we're addressing these things as we go along, and it's pretty exciting. And, I can't say others do what we do because I don't see it, but we're really proud of what we do. So,
yeah. And you guys do a great job. I did want to touch a little bit here on reasons why all-in-one solutions are worth the investment. And for me, when I'm on a team and I'm advocating an automation or a technology solution, often I find that the people that I am talking to are very aware of the costs that are in your budget, the costs that you pay, but we're not quite as aware of those lost costs of the extra time it takes for your team to enter data into one database and turn around and have to enter it into another, or the time that it takes to clean up a situation where you've accidentally missed part of a donation that a family made because mom made a donation on her own behalf to something that meant something to her and maybe, in memory of her mother. And that somehow didn't get added to the family's donation count for the year. And then we have a little bit of a faux pas going on. So can you talk about maybe a couple of things that you've seen over the years developing your all-in-one solution that people might not think about when they're staring at their budget and they're staring at the hard numbers? What are some of those hidden costs?
So, Michelle, one of those things that's really interesting that you said at the end, and it's really a very open-ended question, right? Like when you said, a mother gave as a donation, but it didn't go into that. That was something that was a unique feature within our software that we developed, and we identified this a long time ago. And it really is an important thing. And it's what we call households, right? So, Michelle, as a mother, right? As a mother, you gave a donation, your husband gave a donation, maybe, through, Lionheart's company.
Yep.
You gave a donation from Lionheart's company, right? Yep. And then maybe your daughter or your son gave a donation. So you have 5 different people from one household, right, giving a donation. And what's really important, and I think what organizations don't realize, is tracking that as a household, right?
Yeah.
So on our system, and that was a really important thing, because if you're tracking something so important, you want this to look at as, and I'm simplifying it, as a household. So when I go into, your record of those 5 people, of those 2 companies under that one household, is one record for Arreva. It's not 3, 5 separate records. And many of these platforms that are out there, they're not tracking it that way. And, we sort of take it for granted, which is, I hope we don't.
Yeah.
But because it's such a strong feature of what we provide. And then, I hope, everybody that whether it's a salesperson telling a prospect this, but this is what we do. This is something that's so, I don't want to say simplistic, but so important. And most software vendors are not tracking households this way.
Yeah.
Plus, it saves them money, because a lot of organizations, that the way they charge you is by households or by what we call records, right? It could be by users. We don't try by users. So when you look at, you could have 1 million gifts, and we're not charging for that type of record size. So, we're very cost conscious on how we price our software. And then, you mentioned some other things like a return on investment. And we can actually say that our software truly, really does provide a real return on investment. I mean, we've seen on average, and just in one area, if they were using our peer-to-peer fundraising, which if they never had it before, and they really are using it, we've seen on average within 3 weeks of using it, they would raise more money than they paid for the entire system for the whole year. I mean, literally within 3 weeks. We've seen this time and time again. Not only does it help, but organizations that, and I know not every organization does this, but organizations that have, and in fact, I just spoke to, I have so many great clients, and we do, calls with them. And I love, it's one of my favorite parts of the job, I guess, is I get to talk to, these, and I have what I call hello calls. And, this one organization, oh my God, they're amazing what they do for abused women and families. And it's truly amazing. And we were talking about her board, and she goes, my board doesn't really necessarily help me raise money. And I said, one of the things that I believe a board should do is, whether it's, and not everybody has money, and that's okay. Right. Some people have time, some people have time and money, right? If a board member is joining you and they really want to help the organization, they don't have to be wealthy. They don't have to have money. But if they're willing to come up and be part of and help you raise money through their network, or they can write a check, that's sort of certain board members. And a lot of organizations want their board to help them raise money, right? I mean, they just do. Absolutely. So part of our software actually helps those individuals raise money. And we've seen year over year, using our software, that the board is achieving 100% of their board giving year over year. And if they weren't using our software, they may not. Some people don't mind writing a check. Some people want to be part of it, and they can't write the full amount, but they have a lot of friends and saying, "Hey, would you give?" And that can be part of their achievement. But when you don't have the right technology, it's very difficult to ask board members to go out always and ask for money. So you're always looking for new ways. The other nice thing is, everything that we do and all the things that I'm talking about, whether it was COVID or not, is on your phone. So you want to make sure when you're on your phone, and every one of our applications, whether it's a pledge, whether it's online donations, you can go, and I could be talking over Michelle, and I could be the nonprofit and saying, oh, you'll give a pledge. Can you go on right now? Download this. And you're not downloading an app, so it's not taking more room on your phone, right? It's right there, and I can give a pledge right there over the phone. I can register for an event, simple, because everybody, I think this is like a third arm for all of us, right? Is the phone, right? So when you look at the phone, and we're with the phone all the time. So you've got to make sure, and I've seen organizations, oh my God, I can't even see the donation page. And, it's just, so whether it's donations or events or volunteering or membership or anything like that, they should be able to see this and do this on the phone as you're talking to them. Or if they just get an email and they want to click on it. So, those are all little important things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. There's so many great things in here. Even when you mentioned like about text, that one hit me really deep in my soul, because my dentist office cannot get a hold of me unless they send me a text message. And sometimes my kids' teachers can't get a hold of me unless they send me a text message. And it's not that I don't want to return phone calls, but we all know how busy we are, and everybody's experiencing the extra pressures from COVID or whatever obstacle is the latest one, the latest bump in the road. When I was working in my first nonprofit back when I was 25, I worked for a school, and that was during the economic downturn in 2008, 2009. And, just having the ability to be able to meet people on their preferred platform, right? Because maybe I've gotten your voicemail where you're asking me for my annual appeal donation, and maybe I've gotten the voicemail about sponsoring my child's run at the school, but maybe that's just not where I'm at. and what I love about Arreva's solution and thinking in those ways in terms of where can I meet the donors where they're at, is that is going to immediately help organizations raise more funds. I feel like there's this margin, this gap between what a nonprofit can raise just by going out and doing the best that they can, and what their supporters want to be able to give to them, and they have the ability to. And I love when we can make that margin smaller.
You bring up a great point, Michelle, even on the texting today. I mean, we take it for granted because everybody texts, right? I mean, I text Susan and she'll respond. And if I send her an email, you don't read it right away. We don't read our emails necessarily unless you're sitting in front of your computer at work, but you'll see a text comes in and you respond to it. And I love what you said, because it's not only about, and I'm so happy that we've incorporated on both sides of it. One side is, that an organization can text and say, hey, your room is available, if you're at Ronald McDonald House, or they can text the staff, or, maybe they have so there's one way of communicating. The other way is sending a campaign or a donation through a text, right?
Yeah.
And exactly. I'm really happy that we are providing as a company both of those ways of providing a text. And, it's really amazing when you tell people about it. I was, some people were like, you do that? Oh my God, we need that, right? Others, and it's not where it's going to help them be successful just because they have the texting and they think if they send it out, they still have to do it right. And those are other things of what are the best practices of doing that. But I was really happy that we could provide it both ways, whether it was just a text or, a text for a donation or a text for a campaign. And, you can put it on your website. You see it 71760, right? And then give or if you looked at 71760 and then typed in home, like right now on your phone, you see Ronald McDonald has a donation page right there. So they're really cool. It's so many different ways of getting in front of people that are so busy today, right?
Exactly. Yeah. David, this has been a fantastic conversation. I can't thank you enough for your time and your expertise and joining us on the podcast. I'm sure our listeners are going to go away with quite a few little nuggets to think on and think about how they can improve their donations and their fundraising. And what I love about that, what I love about getting your software right, is I think that once you can get your software and these like admin things correct, then you have more space to catch those serendipitous moments when you catch your board member at the coffee shop, or you catch one of your big volunteers in the line at school, and you have 5 minutes to chat. And it gives us more space once we don't feel like we're having to put out fires all the time, to be a little bit more aware and a little bit more human and a little bit more authentic. And you're helping organizations do that every day. And Among Lion Hearts is in awe at everything you do in your efforts. Was there anything that you would like to share with our audience before we wrap things up?
No, I first of all, Michelle, I can't thank you enough. And I think what you're doing and getting messages out, to the nonprofit industry is a wonderful thing. And I know it's not easy, and, they're all so busy and they're very passionate about what they do. I mean, my one last message of, guys, hang in there. You all are doing just a wonderful thing. I mean, you're helping our communities in so many different ways, and there's so many great organizations, whether, just hang in there. And I know right now it has been really tough times. And when we think there's a window, it seems like the door's closed, but there's always a crack in that door. There's always that little window open, and everybody will, survive in this and persevere. So, it's like anything else. We've got our ups and downs, but, just hang in there. And, there's a lot of people out there that want to help, not just Arreva, but a lot of people. And I wish you all the very best. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, David. Here's our podcast in a minute for today's episode of the Among Lion Hearts podcast, our interview with David Blyer of donor relationship management provider Arreva. Great software can be the make or break of successful do-gooder teams, especially in times of difficulty and struggle, such as what we're all experiencing right now with COVID-19. These days, nonprofit teams are working harder than ever before with less money in their budgets. It's for this reason that nonprofit professionals need to always be on the lookout for new tools that can help them be extra effective and efficient. David was gracious enough to share with us the story of how Arreva came to be and the why of what the Arreva team strives for in their work every day. Arreva set out to create and perfect an all-in-one donor relationship management tool for do-gooders everywhere. And with ExceedFurther, they've done just that. My conversation with David explores the importance of nonprofit donor management software and why it's worth investing in. In the episode, you'll hear about why charity organizations need to stay on the leading edge of modern software solutions, and what revolutionary tools are built into Arreva's platform, ExceedFurther, and also reasons why nonprofit leaders can't afford to forget about the hidden costs of working with a disconnected assortment of charity management tools. This time of year, many organizations are taking the time to review their annual goals and plans. If you're feeling the squeeze of sinking budgets, or if you're on the precipice of expanding your team, make sure you're taking the time in your annual review to talk to people on every level of your organization and consider whether making the leap to an all-in-one solution could be the key to unlocking the next level up for good your team needs. Today's do-gooder hype-up message is, we all make mistakes. It's human. Just learn from them. Repeating them and being aware of it is the dangerous bit. It's a quote by Jessie J. Among Lion Hearts is a socially conscious marketing agency where we specialize in social media management and influencer marketing for the unique needs of social enterprises and charities. Let our team of experts manage your social media workload for you so you can get back to doing more good. Remember, every small act of courage, no matter how small, is not actually small at all. You, my dear, are standing among lion hearts.